Before we descend into the gilded world of high-stakes gambling and international espionage, if you are fascinated by the operations that happen in the shadows, the history that isn't written in textbooks, and the tradecraft of the world's most secretive agencies, please hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. The story you are about to hear is one of those operations that officially never happened, and your support helps us bring these files into the light. The year was 2010. The location was not a dusty alleyway in Beirut or a bunker in Damascus, but the marble-floored, chandelier-lit expanse of the Casino de Monte Carlo in Monaco. The air smelled of expensive perfume, aged cognac, and the quiet desperation of men losing fortunes they couldn't afford to lose. In the world of counterterrorism, there is a misconception that the war is fought only with drones, satellite imagery, and men in the shadows carrying silenced pistols. But by the turn of the 21st century, the battlefield had shifted. The most lethal ammunition was no longer 9mm rounds. It was the Swift code. The most dangerous weapon was not a plastic explosive, but a routing number. Hezbollah, the organization that had effectively fought the Israeli military to a standstill in 2006, was rearming. But rockets cost money. Advanced guidance systems, encrypted communication radios, and the maintenance of a standing army in southern Lebanon required a river of cash that never stopped flowing. For years, Israeli intelligence, specifically the Mossad's financial warfare division, known informally as Harpoon, had tracked these rivers. They flowed from Tehran, moved through shell companies in South America, washed through diamond markets in West Africa, and eventually landed in banks in Beirut. But in early 2010, the river changed course. Intelligence chatter picked up a new node in the network. A single man who had become the funnel for millions of dollars intended for the purchase of advanced anti-ship missiles. His name was Walid al-Hams. To the banking world, he was a venture capitalist with a Liberian passport and a residence in Dubai. To the Mossad, he was the treasurer. Al-Hams did not carry a gun. He carried a secure, encrypted BlackBerry and a set of RSA tokens that granted access to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands and Panama. The decision was made in a windowless room in Tel Aviv during a humid Tuesday afternoon. The director of operations looked at the dossier on the table. "If we eliminate him physically," the director said, his voice dry, "another banker takes his place within a week. The accounts are handed over. The money still flows." Avner, a veteran case officer with graying temples and a reputation for unorthodox solutions, leaned forward. "Then we don't touch the man," Avner said. "We touch the money. We don't just stop the transaction. We steal the budget. We empty the accounts. We make Al-Hams look not like a martyr, but like a thief. Hezbollah doesn't forgive incompetence, and they certainly don't forgive embezzlement." The target was identified. Al-Hams was scheduled to attend a high-stakes poker tournament in Monaco. It was his playground, the place where he laundered money by losing just enough to make his winnings look legitimate, or by transferring chips to associates under the guise of gameplay. The mission was approved under the codename Royal Flush. The objective was not to harm a hair on Walid al-Hamz's head. The objective was to strip him of $50 million in a single night, destroying his reputation and cutting off the funding for a shipment of missiles that would otherwise threaten the Mediterranean coast. Understanding the target is the first rule of the trade. Walid al-Hams was a ghost in the system. He was a man of numbers, meticulous and paranoid. He didn't trust banks with the full access codes to the organization's war chest. He kept the primary access keys physical, a digital dongle, biometric authentication, and a constantly rotating password sequence that he memorized. He was the perfect modern conduit. Unlike the old guard who moved cash in suitcases, Al-Hams moved wealth through the ether. He specialized in layering, the process of moving money through so many different institutions and jurisdictions that tracing it became impossible for standard law enforcement. But Al-Hams had a vice. It wasn't alcohol, and it wasn't women. It was the adrenaline of the gamble. He fancied himself a master of probability. He believed that the same mathematical mind that allowed him to structure complex money laundering schemes made him invincible at the poker table. He played no-limit Texas Hold'em with an aggression that mirrored his business dealings. Avner spent weeks studying the tapes of Al-Hams playing in Macau and Las Vegas. He watched the man's tics, the way he rubbed his left earlobe when he was bluffing, the way he checked his watch when he had the nuts. the unbeatable hand. But more importantly, Avner studied the technology Alhams kept close. Alhams never went anywhere without a platinum-cased briefcase. It wasn't handcuffed to his wrist. That was too Hollywood. But it was never more than 2 feet away from his person. Inside that case was a modified laptop with a direct satellite uplink. It was his mobile bank branch. He only logs in when he needs to verify a transfer from the upstream donors, Avner explained to his assembled team. He checks the balance before he sits down to play, to reassure himself of his power. And he checks it after he leaves. The team for Operation Royal Flush was small, surgical, and entirely deniable. First there was Avner, the architect. He would be the eye in the sky, coordinating from a support vessel in the marina. Then there was Eitan. In his late 30s, Eitan was handsome in a way that was forgettable. He had the charm of a diplomat and the sleight-of-hand skills of a street magician. Eitan was the face. He would be the one sitting across the felt from Alhams. Finally, there was Yael. 26 years old, she looked like a runway model who had grown bored with fame. In reality, she was a prodigy of Unit 8200, Israel's Signals Intelligence Corps. She could break into a secure network faster than most people could type their email passwords. She was the ghost. The plan is simple in theory, impossible in practice. Avner briefed them. We need his password, we need his biometric fingerprint, and we need physical access to his RSA token for approximately 45 seconds. All of this has to happen inside a casino monitored by 500 CCTV cameras, while he is surrounded by bodyguards. And we have to do it, Eitan added with a wry smile, while I try not to lose the agency's budget on a pair of deuces. The timeline was tight. The poker tournament, the Grand Prix de Monaco poker tour, began in 3 days. Alhams had already rented a suite at the Hotel de Paris connected to the casino. The $50 million, funds originating from oil sales and earmarked for the missile purchase, was currently sitting in a holding account in Zurich, waiting for Alhams to release it to the arms dealer's shell company in Hong Kong. They had one night to divert that river. Monaco is a sovereign city-state, a playground for the 1% of the 1%. It is a place where a Ferrari is considered a starter car, and where the police force has more cameras per square meter than any other place on Earth. For a spy, it is a nightmare. There are no shadows in Monte Carlo. Everything is well lit, everything is watched, and everyone is suspicious of outsiders who don't look like they belong. The team arrived separately. Eitan arrived by helicopter from Nice, dressed in a bespoke Italian suit, carrying a passport that identified him as a wealthy Argentine real estate developer named Matteo Silva. He checked into the Hotel de Paris, demanding a room with a sea view and complaining loudly about the thread count of the sheets, the classic behavior of the nouveau riche. Yael arrived via train, playing the role of a high-end lifestyle consultant. She was technically part of Matteo Silva's entourage, a common sight in Monaco where wealthy men traveled with assistants, stylists, and coordinators. Her equipment was hidden inside the lining of Louis Vuitton luggage, signal sniffers, keyloggers, and a cloning device disguised as a compact makeup mirror. Avner did not enter the city proper. He remained on a chartered yacht named the Chimera, docked in the Port Hercule. The yacht was officially registered to a shell company in the British Virgin Islands. Its hull was packed with enough antenna power to intercept cellular traffic across the entire principality. "Comms check," Avner's voice echoed in their earpieces. The earpieces were inductive loops, invisible to the naked eye, sitting deep in the ear canal. "Loud and clear," Eitan murmured, sipping an espresso in the hotel lobby. He was watching the elevators. "Online," Yael said. She was sitting in the hotel suite, scanning for the Wi-Fi signatures of the guests. "I'm picking up a lot of encrypted traffic from the penthouse suites. Alhams is here." Walid Alhams entered the lobby 20 minutes later. He was a short man, balding, wearing sunglasses indoors. He was flanked by 3 men. 2 were clearly muscle, broad shoulders, earpieces, ill-fitting jackets concealing sidearms. The 3rd man was different, slim, nervous, carrying the platinum briefcase. This was the assistant, the carrier. "Target visual," Eitan said softly. "He has the case. The assistant is carrying it." "That creates a layer of separation," Avner noted. "Alhams won't have the token on him." The assistant holds the hardware. Al Hams holds the passwords in his head. We need to separate the assistant from the boss. I can work with that, Yael said. If the assistant is holding the case, he's the weak link. He's an employee. Employees get bored. Employees get distracted. The plan required a delicate dance. They had to clone the digital signature of the RSA token inside the case to trick the bank's server into thinking Al Hams was authorizing the transfer. But the token rolled its code every 60 seconds. They needed to clone the seed key, the algorithm that generated the codes. To do that, they needed to plug a physical device into the token for roughly a minute. In the middle of a casino, without being seen. Eitan, Avner directed, your job is to get Al Hams to the table and keep him there. Make him focus on you. Make him angry. An angry man makes mistakes. He stops watching his perimeter. And the assistant? Eitan asked. Yael, Avner said. You're going to buy him a drink. The Casino de Monte Carlo is a masterpiece of Belle Epoque architecture. Gold leaf, heavy velvet curtains, and the hush of serious money. The tournament was taking place in the Salon Privé, a private room reserved for the highest stakes. The buy-in was 100,000 euros. Eitan, playing the role of the arrogant Argentine, Mateo Silva, slapped his buy-in on the table. He was loud, boisterous, and immediately annoying. He ordered a magnum of champagne for the table before a single card was dealt. Al Hams sat 3 seats away. He looked at Eitan with disdain. To the Hezbollah financier, this Argentine was exactly what was wrong with the West. Frivolous, loud, and stupid. This was exactly the impression Eitan wanted to cultivate. Gentlemen, Eitan announced, I hope you brought your checkbooks. I feel lucky tonight. Al Hams ignored him, adjusting his chip stack with obsessive precision. He signaled to his assistant, who stood 5 feet behind him, the platinum case gripped in his hand. One of the bodyguards stood by the door. The other stood behind the dealer. Up in the hotel suite, Yael was monitoring the security feeds. She had hacked into the hotel's localized network, not the high-security casino system yet, but the internal guest services. She was building a profile on the assistant. His name was Karim. Karim is young, Yael reported to the team. 24, likely a cousin or nephew of a higher-up. He's been posting photos of the Ferrari dealership on his private Instagram for the last hour. He's dazzled by the wealth. He's a tourist in a suit, Avner assessed. Good, distract him. Down in the Salon Privé, the game began. Eitan played erratically. He bluffed when he should have folded. He raised on weak hands. He won a few lucky pots, laughing loudly each time. Luck is a lady, Eitan shouted, raking in chips. Al Hams tightened his jaw. Luck runs out, Mr. Silva, he said quietly. Mathematics does not. Math is for accountants, Eitan retorted. I play with Corazon, heart. While Eitan antagonized the target, Yael made her move. She dressed in a stunning evening gown, silver and flowing, looking every bit the bored heiress. She entered the casino, bypassing the main floor and heading toward the bar that serviced the Salon Privé. She couldn't just walk up to Karim. The bodyguards would intercept her. She needed Karim to come to her. She pulled out a small device, a localized signal jammer disguised as a compact. She tuned it to the frequency of the earpieces the bodyguards were wearing. It wouldn't block them completely, but it would create a high-pitched static whine. An annoyance. In the Salon Privé, the bodyguard near Karim winced, tapping his ear. He stepped away a few feet, trying to clear the interference. That was the gap. Yael signaled a waiter. She slipped him a 100-euro note. That young man standing behind the serious gentleman, she whispered. He looks thirsty. Send him a whiskey, top shelf. Tell him it's from the lady at the bar who thinks he looks bored. The waiter nodded. In Monte Carlo, this was a common occurrence. Karim was indeed bored. Standing for 3 hours while his boss played cards was torture. When the waiter appeared with a crystal glass of amber liquid, Karim hesitated. He looked at the bodyguard, who was busy fiddling with his earpiece. From the lady, the waiter murmured, gesturing toward the bar. Karim looked. Yael caught his eye and raised her own glass in a subtle toast. Karim, young and arrogant, smiled. He took the drink. He didn't leave his post, but his attention shifted. He was no longer watching the room for threats. He was watching the girl. The poker game intensified. The field of players had narrowed from 10 to 6. Aitan and Al-Hams were the chip leaders. The dynamic at the table was toxic. Aitan had managed to get under the financier's skin. "You play like a coward," Aitan taunted after Al-Hams folded a hand. "You count your chips like they are beans." "Where is the courage?" Al-Hams slammed his hand on the table. "I play to win, not to entertain you." "Focus, Aitan," Avner warned in his ear. "Don't push him too far. We need him at the table, not storming out." "I have him," Aitan whispered. Meanwhile, Yael moved. She finished her drink and walked toward the entrance of the salon privé. She acted as though she was looking for someone inside. The bodyguard at the door stepped in her way. "Private game, mademoiselle," the guard said. "Oh, I'm sorry," Yael said, feigning embarrassment. She looked over the guard's shoulder and locked eyes with Karim again. She gave a small, helpless shrug. Karim, fueled by the whiskey and the attention, stepped forward. "Is there a problem?" he asked the guard. "Just a lost tourist," the guard grunted. "I'm looking for Matteo." Yael lied, pointing at Aitan. "He has my room key." Karim glanced at his boss. Al-Hams was deep in a hand, staring at the flop. Karim saw an opportunity to be important. "I can take a message," he said, stepping closer to the velvet rope, the platinum case still in his left hand. "You're very kind," Yael said, moving into his personal space. She smelled of jasmine and vanilla. "I just need to give him this." She held up a small hotel key card. As Karim reached for it with his free hand, Yael stumbled. It was a calculated, graceful trip. She fell forward, colliding with him. "Oh!" she gasped. Her hand, holding the makeup mirror, slapped against the side of the platinum briefcase. "Careful!" Karim snapped, steadying her, but mostly worried about the case. In that split second of contact, the device in Yael's hand, a high-powered NFC, near-field communication cloner, attempted to shake hands with the electronics inside the case. Beep. A tiny vibration in Yael's palm. She pulled back, apologizing profusely. "I am so clumsy, it's the heels. I'm so sorry." Karim brushed his jacket, looking annoyed but flushed. "It is fine. Go. I will tell Mr. Silva later." Yael retreated, walking back to the lobby. Once she was out of sight, she tapped her earpiece. "Did we get it?" Avner asked. Yael looked at the readout on her phone. "I have a partial handshake. I didn't get the seed key. The case is shielded, lead-lined or copper mesh. I can't clone the token through the wall of the briefcase." "Damn," Aitan cursed silently at the table. "Plan B," Avner said immediately. "We can't clone it remotely. We need to open the case." "Open the case?" Yael whispered, walking toward the elevators. "He's handcuffed to the idea of that case. He never puts it down." "He will," Avner said, "if he has to leave the room in a hurry. Aitan, we need to spike the drink." "Negative," Aitan replied. "He's only drinking water. Sealed bottles." "Then we attack the bladder," Avner said. "Al-Hams is human. He's been sitting there for 3 hours. The tournament break is in 20 minutes. He will go to the restroom. Karim will hold the case outside, or he will take it in. If Karim takes it in, we are done. If Karim stays outside, I can't take the case from Karim in the middle of a hallway," Yael argued. "No," Avner agreed. "But we can make Karim drop it, and we can switch it." "Switch it?" Yael asked. "I have a replica in the tactical bag on the boat," Avner said. "Standard issue Platinum Zero Halliburton attaché. It's a common model for these types. I can have it to you in 10 minutes via the Marina courier." "A swap," Yael mused. "Old school." "We swap the cases," Avner explained. "We take his case to a secure spot, the janitor closet down the hall. We crack it, clone the token physically, and swap it back before he realizes. That requires Karim to be blind," Aitan noted. "Or," Yael said, a dangerous idea forming, "it requires Karim to be unconscious." The tournament break was announced. The players stood up, stretching. Al-Hams looked at his chip stack. He was up, but Aitan was close behind him. 10 minutes, gentlemen," the dealer announced. Al-Hams buttoned his jacket. He looked at Karim. "Restroom," he commanded. The procession moved. Al-Hams, flanked by the 2 large bodyguards, walked toward the VIP restrooms located down a marble corridor. Karim followed, carrying the case. Yael was already in position. She had changed tactics. She was no longer the heiress. She was wearing a hotel blazer she had swiped from a housekeeping cart. She looked like staff. As Al-Hams entered the restroom, the bodyguards took positions outside the door. Karim stood with them, holding the case. "He didn't take it in," Yael whispered. "Karim is holding it outside." "Okay," Avner said. The courier dropped the replica case in the planter by the elevators. "Yael, do you have it?" "I have it," Yael confirmed. She was holding the duplicate briefcase. It looked identical to the target's, but it was empty save for a few bricks to match the weight. Now came the impossible part. How to swap a briefcase held by a man standing next to two armed guards. "Eitan," Avner said. "We need a diversion, a big one." Eitan was walking toward the restroom as well. He saw the guards. He saw Karim. "I'm going to start a fight," Eitan said. "Risky," Avner warned. "Security will be all over you." "That's the point," Eitan said. Eitan walked up to the guards. He looked at Karim. Then he looked at the guards. "You know," Eitan said loudly, slurring his words slightly, "your boss is a cheat. I saw him dealing from the bottom of the deck." The guards stared at him, stone-faced. "Move along, sir." "No, I don't think I will," Eitan shouted. He shoved one of the guards. It wasn't a hard shove, but it was enough. The guard reacted instantly, grabbing Eitan's arm. Eitan twisted, feigning a drunken stumble, and crashed into the second guard. "Help! Police! They're attacking me!" Eitan screamed. Chaos erupted. The guards were trying to restrain the drunk billionaire without hurting him. Casino security came running from the other end of the hall. Karim, panicked, stepped back to avoid the scuffle. He was pressed against the wall, clutching the case. Suddenly, the fire alarm triggered. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Strobe lights flashed. The sprinklers didn't go off, but the noise was deafening. "Yael, now," Avner commanded. He had hacked the building management system to trigger the localized alarm in that corridor. In the confusion of the flashing lights and the brawl, a staff member, Yael, ran down the hall, pushing a large linen cart. "Evacuation! Evacuation! Fire in the kitchen!" she screamed in French. She rammed the cart into Karim. It wasn't gentle. The heavy cart slammed into his shins. Karim yelled in pain, his reflex taking over. He let go of the case to grab his leg as he fell. The platinum case hit the floor. In the strobing darkness, Yael kicked the target case under the linen cart and simultaneously kicked the replica case, which she had hidden on the bottom shelf of the cart, out toward Karim. It took 1 second. "Move! Move!" Yael shouted, pushing the cart past the fallen Karim and continuing down the hall. Karim groaned, scrambling up. He grabbed the handle of the briefcase on the floor. It felt right. It looked right. "Boss!" Karim shouted, banging on the restroom door. "We need to go!" Al-Hams emerged from the restroom, buttoning his fly, looking furious. "What is this noise?" "Fire alarm!" the bodyguard panted, holding Eitan in a headlock. "Release him!" Al-Hams snapped. "We are leaving!" Al-Hams looked at Karim. "Do you have the package?" "Yes, sir," Karim said, clutching the replica. "Good. To the car." Down the hall, Yael turned the corner and sprinted into a service elevator. She ripped the tablecloth off the cart. There, sitting among the dirty towels, was the real briefcase. The bank. "I have the package," Yael said, her heart hammering against her ribs. "I'm heading to the secure point." "You have 5 minutes," Avner said. "If Al-Hams tries to open that replica and realizes his computer isn't inside, he locks down the accounts remotely via phone call." 5 minutes, Yael said, pulling a heavy-duty drill from her kit. "Let's crack this oyster." Yael sat on the concrete floor of the service closet, the smell of industrial cleaner and damp mops filling her nostrils. It was a stark contrast to the lavender-scented air of the casino floor she had just fled. Her hands, usually steady as a surgeon's, trembled slightly as she placed the platinum briefcase on a stack of towels. "I am in the nest," she whispered into her comms. "Starting the procedure." "You have 4 minutes," Avner's voice came back, calm but tight. "Al-Hams and his entourage are arguing with the hotel manager in the lobby. They are demanding to leave, but the fire marshal hasn't cleared the building yet. The confusion buys you time, but not much." Yael pulled a specialized tool from her kit. a fiber optic endoscope, and a high-frequency lockpick designed by the technical division of the Mossad. The briefcase was a masterpiece of security engineering. It didn't just have a key, it had a biometric scanner and a digital keypad. However, every digital system had a physical failsafe, a way for the manufacturer to open it if the electronics failed. That failsafe was a microscopic pinhole hidden beneath the handle's hinge. She inserted the probe. On the small screen of her phone, she watched the internal tumblers of the lock mechanism. It was like picking a safe, but on a miniature scale. Click. The latches hissed. The case popped open. Inside, nestled in shock-absorbent foam, was the nerve center of Hezbollah's European financial network. A ruggedized Panasonic Toughbook and, velcroed next to it, the RSA Secure ID token. The token was small, gray, and unassuming. A digital display on its front blinked a 6-digit code that changed every 60 seconds. This little piece of plastic was the guardian of $50 million. "I'm in," Yael said. "Target acquired." She didn't take the token. Taking it would alert Al Hams the moment he opened the case. Instead, she pulled out a leech, a small device consisting of pogo pins and a ribbon cable. She pressed the pins against the debug contacts on the back of the token's circuit board. This was the most dangerous part. If her hand slipped, she could short-circuit the token. If the token died, Al Hams would know immediately that his security was compromised, and the bank would freeze the accounts. Initiating handshake, Yael muttered. On her phone screen, lines of code cascaded like a digital waterfall. She was extracting the seed key, the unique algorithmic DNA that allowed the token to generate the correct passwords in sync with the bank's server. 20%, 40%. "Yael," Eitan's voice cut in. "The fire marshal is clearing the lobby. Al Hams is moving. He's heading for the valet stand. He wants his car." "Stall him," Yael snapped. "I'm at 60%. "He's done talking," Eitan said. "He's walking away." "Karim is with him, holding the fake case. If he gets into that car with the fake case, we are dead," Avner interjected. "He will check the case as soon as he is in the vehicle. It's his ritual." 80%. "I need 60 seconds, Yael said, sweat beading on her forehead. "I'm going to make a scene," Eitan said. "No more fights," Avner ordered. "Do it with money. It's the only language he speaks." The lobby of the Hotel de Paris was a swirl of irritated guests and apologetic staff. Walid Al-Hams cut through the crowd like a shark, his bodyguards clearing a path. Karim trailed behind, clutching the replica briefcase that Yael had swapped in the hallway. It contained nothing but weighted bricks wrapped in towels. Al-Hams reached the glass doors. The cool night air of Monaco awaited him. His limousine was pulling up. "Mr. Al-Hams," the voice boomed across the lobby. It was Eitan, back in character as Mateo Silva, the arrogant Argentine. Al-Hams paused, his hand on the door. He turned slowly. "I have nothing to say to you, you drunk." Eitan stood in the center of the lobby, looking disheveled but manic. He held up a black American Express Centurion card. "You're running away," Eitan shouted, ensuring every wealthy patron in the vicinity could hear. "You won a few hands, and now you run like a thief in the night. You don't have the stomach for the real game." Al-Hams sneered. "I have taken enough of your money for one night." "I bet you didn't," Eitan challenged, walking closer, ignoring the bodyguards who tensed up. "One hand. Right here. 1 million euros. High card wins. Blind." The lobby went silent. 1 million euros on a single card cut. It was vulgar. It was insane. It was exactly the kind of spectacle Monaco thrived on. Al-Hams hesitated. He was a disciplined man, but he was also a man deeply insecure about his status in this world of old money. To refuse a direct challenge in front of the European elite would be a loss of face. And he knew, mathematically, a card cut was pure 50-50. But he also believed he was smarter than this loud Argentine. 1 million? Al-Hams asked softly. "Cash transfer. Right now," Eitan said. "Unless you don't have the liquidity." That was the trigger. Al-Hams's pride was his weak point. "Bring a deck," Al-Hams ordered the concierge, "and hold the car." He stopped. Eitan whispered into the comms. "Yael, you better be done." Chapter 9. The Reverse Swap. In the service closet, the progress bar hit 100%. Seed extracted. Yael breathed out. She disconnected the leech. The token was unharmed. She carefully placed it back in its Velcro spot. She closed the laptop lid. She shut the briefcase. She re-engaged the locks. Click. I have the clone, Yael said. I'm moving to the valet. She stripped off the housekeeping blazer, revealing the evening gown underneath again. She shoved the blazer and her tools into a trash chute. She grabbed the real platinum briefcase and ran. The plan for the reverse swap was the most complex part of the night. They couldn't do another collision. It would be too suspicious happening twice. They had to rely on the infrastructure of the hotel itself. Avner had compromised the valet dispatch system. When Alham's limo was called, the ticket number was flagged in the system. Yael exited the service door into the garage level. She was now behind the valet desk. She spotted the designated limousine, a black Mercedes S-Class. The trunk was open. The driver was standing by the door waiting for his VIP. I need a distraction in the garage, Yael said. Deploying asset, Avner replied. On the other side of the garage, a car alarm began to blare. Not just blare, it screamed, a high-pitched, oscillating siren. The driver of the Mercedes looked up, distracted by the noise echoing off the concrete walls. Yael moved. She stayed low, using the line of parked supercars as cover. She reached the Mercedes. She had to wait. The swap couldn't happen yet. Karim still had the fake case upstairs. She needed Karim to bring the fake case down, hand it to the valet, or put it in the trunk, and then she would swap it. He's playing the hand, Eitan updated. He's cutting the deck. Upstairs, the concierge had brought a fresh deck of cards on a silver platter. Eitan and Alhams stood facing each other. Ladies first, Eitan mocked. Alhams cut the deck. He showed the card. King of Spades. A ripple of applause went through the onlookers. A king was a monster cut. Eitan smiled. He reached out. He didn't even look at the card as he cut it. He flipped it over. 4 of diamonds. Alhams let out a short, sharp laugh. Mathematics, Mr. Silva. It always wins. You got me, Eitan said, grinning. Transfer instructions? My assistant will handle it, Alhams said, turning away, flushed with victory. He had crushed the insect. He felt invincible. Karim, to the car, now. Karim, holding the fake case, bricks, hurried after his boss. They got into the elevator to the garage. They are coming down, Eitan said. I just lost $1 million of the agency's money. Please tell me this works. It's only money if we pay it, Avner said dryly. We aren't paying. The elevator doors in the garage opened. Alham strode toward the Mercedes. Karim followed. The driver opened the trunk. Karim placed the fake platinum briefcase into the trunk. He slammed the trunk shut. Yael froze. She was hiding behind a Bentley parked next to the Mercedes. The trunk was closed. She couldn't swap it. The trunk is closed, Yael whispered. I can't make the switch. Don't panic, Avner said. The driver hasn't gotten in yet. I'm calling the driver. Inside the garage, the driver's cell phone rang. He looked at it. It was the hotel dispatch number. He answered. Oui? Monsieur, Avner said in flawless French. You forgot the champagne bucket for Mr. Alhams. It is mandatory for VIP service. Come to the service window immediately. The driver looked conflicted. He looked at the closed trunk, then at the passenger door where Alhams was already sitting. One moment, the driver muttered. He jogged toward the service window, leaving the car unattended for 10 seconds. Yael moved like a shadow. She popped the trunk. The Mercedes had an external release she could trigger because the key fob was still near the car, in the ignition or driver's pocket. The trunk hissed open. She grabbed the fake case, heavy with bricks. She dropped the real case, with the computer and token, into the exact same spot. She shut the trunk. Thud. She rolled under the Bentley just as the driver returned, carrying a silver bucket of ice. He put the bucket in the front seat, got in, and started the engine. The Mercedes purred to life and rolled out of the garage. Yael lay on the concrete, the fake briefcase clutched to her chest. Package secured, she whispered. The target has the original case. He has no idea it ever left his possession. And we? Eitan asked. We have the keys to the kingdom, Yael said, smiling. Chapter 10. The digital heist. They regrouped on the Chimera. The yacht pulled away from the dock, heading out into international waters. The lights of Monte Carlo glittered behind them, a beautiful, expensive facade. In the main cabin, Yael sat before a bank of monitors. She had the cloned seed key loaded into a software emulator. On her screen was a virtual RSA token, blinking in sync with the one in Alham's briefcase. "Time to log in," Avner said. She accessed the private banking portal of the Banque de Zurich. She entered Alham's username. Password required. "We don't have his password," Eitan realized. "We never got it." "We don't need it," Yael said. "We have his laptop." "We gave the laptop back," Eitan said. "I installed a hardware keylogger when I had the case open," Yael said casually. "It's a microchip sitting between the keyboard ribbon and the motherboard. It transmits on a burst frequency every time he hits enter." "He hasn't logged in yet," Avner noted. "He will," Yael said. "He just won €1 million from you. He's going to check his accounts to see if the wire transfer arrives. Or he's going to check the balance just to gloat." They waited. 10 minutes? 20. Then, a ping on Yael's console. User input detected. Alhams, in the back of his limousine heading toward the Nice airport, had opened his briefcase. He wanted to see his 50 million, plus the 1 million he thought Eitan owed him. He typed his password. On the yacht, characters appeared on Yael's screen. Walid King 77. "Got it," Yael said. She waited for him to log out. They couldn't be logged in at the same time. It would flag a security error. Alhams checked his balance. He saw the 50 million. He smiled. He closed the laptop. "He's offline," Yael said. "Going in." She logged in using the captured password. The bank asked for the two-factor authentication code. She looked at her virtual token. 492,881. She typed it in. Access granted. The screen filled with numbers. Balance, 52,400,000, yours. "There it is," Avner said. "The missile fund." "Let's move it," Yael said. She didn't transfer the money to a Mossad account. That would be too obvious. Instead, she initiated a series of transfers that she had pre-programmed. First, the money moved to a shell company in Panama registered to Walid Alhams. Then, from Panama, it was split. 10 million went to a known gambling debt consolidator in Macau, a fake transaction record created by Mossad. 20 million went to an account linked to a rival Hezbollah faction's shell company, designed to create internal paranoia. The remaining 22 million was donated anonymously to 3 major international charities: the Red Cross, Doctors Without Borders, and a fund for Lebanese war orphans. "He's going to be very popular with the orphans," Eitan grinned. "Execute," Avner said. Yael hit enter. Transfer complete. Balance 0, Chapter 11. The Fold. The aftermath was not an explosion. It was a silence. Walid Alhams arrived in Beirut the next morning. He went straight to the secure compound in the Dahieh district. He walked into the meeting with the military council, the platinum briefcase in his hand. "The funds are ready," Alhams announced confidently. "We can initiate the purchase." He opened the laptop. He connected to the secure Wi-Fi. He logged in. He waited for the screen to load. He stared. He hit refresh. Balance 0.0. His face went pale. He began to sweat. There is a mistake. He checked the transaction history. He saw the transfers. Transfers to his own name. Transfers to gambling houses. "Walid," the council commander asked, his voice low and dangerous. "Where is the money?" I didn't," Alhams stammered. "I was hacked. The Zionists. The logs show the transfers were authorized with your token," the commander said, looking at the printout that an aide had just handed him. Mossad had ensured the bank sent the confirmation alert to the organization's main email, not just Alhams. "And they went to pay your gambling debts?" No, Alhams screamed. "It's a lie." "You were in Monte Carlo," the commander said coldly. "We heard reports. You were betting millions on card cuts. You were drinking. You were careless." "I won," Alhams pleaded. "You lost," the commander said. "Take him away." Chapter 12. The house always wins back in Tel Aviv. 3 days later, Eitan, Yael, and Avner sat in a small cafe by the beach. They were dressed in civilian clothes. There were no medals, no ceremonies. Intel reports chaos in the Dahieh, Avner said, stirring his coffee. Al-Hams is being interrogated. They believe he stole the money to pay off massive losses. They think he's a thief, not a traitor. It's perfect. And the missiles? Eitan asked. The deal is dead, Avner said. The supplier pulled out when the deposit bounced. The shipment is cancelled. Yael looked at the ocean. $50 million. Gone in 60 seconds. Not gone, Eitan corrected. Redistributed. I think the orphans will put it to better use. We left one thing, Yael said, pulling a small playing card from her pocket. It was the 4 of diamonds, the card Eitan had lost with. What about it? Eitan asked. I sent a digital copy of this card to Al-Hams's email just before I wiped the account. Yael smiled. Just so he knows. Cruel, Eitan laughed. Justice, Avner said. Check, please. They paid the bill and walked away, disappearing into the crowd of the Tel Aviv promenade. The operation was over. The file was closed. In the history books, nothing happened that night in Monaco. A banker simply had bad luck. But somewhere in a dark room in Beirut, a man was realizing that in the game of shadows, you don't play the cards. You play the man. And the house, the Mossad, always wins.